In this video, I'm going to show you how you can program this notation into PolyNome to come up with something like this. So notice that the pattern is going to change in PolyNome along with what's being described at the top. So we have a flam on the first beat, and then we have a flam on the first and fourth, and then we diddle the first one, and then we diddle the fourth one as well. And then we add another diddle on the second note, and then we change it up and put a flam on the last one, and then we put the flam back in. So basically moving through all of these different patterns in one playlist. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So here's the notation that we are going to input, and instead of trying to do this as one really long preset, I'm going to do it in a playlist. So over on the PolyNome side of the screen, down in the bottom tab bar, you want to tap on Playlist, and we'll create a new playlist by tapping the button in the top right and choosing New Playlist. So I'll just call it 5 Cheese. So once we have a new playlist, we want to add items to this. So you can go into edit mode by tapping on the pencil button in the little control strip and tap on the plus to add items, and we'll just choose a bar. And we'll give it a name. I'm just going to call this bar 1. And this button underneath, you can toggle whether it will automatically add the time signature at the end right here. I'm going to turn that off and then hit the plus to enter that bar. And now what we want to do is enter this first bar of music on the right side of the screen into this item. So I'm on an iPad and I'm viewing this in this mode where you can swipe between the library side of the screen and the sequencer side of the screen. By default on an iPad, if I tap this button in the top left, you can see both at the same time, but I am going to tap that again so that we have more screen real estate for the notation. And I'm actually going to enter just 2 beats worth of the rhythm on the right because each bar is 2 beats repeated. So to edit the pattern, tap on the sequencer title and choose Edit Pattern. And the time signature is 12/8, so I can tap on the time signature and set that to 12/8. And then rhythmically, we want 4 groups of sextuplets. So to get that, you can see in the palette down here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, and then a custom division here. So we want groups of 6, but we don't want them to be sextuplets of a quarter note. We want them to be 6 even 16th notes. So on the left hand side here in this panel, you can tap on the dot, and now this is divisions of a dotted quarter note. So this button will give us 6 notes. So I'm going to do just 2 beats of that, and I'm going to leave that as a half bar there. The next thing we want to do is add the accent on the first of each of these groups. So to add accents, you tap above the notation where it says tap for accents, ties, flams, and diddles. Now by default, if I put an accent on that note, an accent on this note, these accents are tied to the specific notes that you add them to. But there's a simpler way to do this in PolyNome. Notice that in all of the rhythms on the right hand side of the screen, everything is always repeated for each beat. So we're just looking at something that repeats every 6 notes. So I'm going to clear the accents, go back to the beginning, and then at the bottom here I'm going to choose tap to detach accents. And now you'll see if I tap an accent, that's going to be repeated over the whole rhythm. And to avoid that, I need to put spacers in like this. And now it's going to play an accent on the first of every 6 notes, and you can see this kind of grayed out version is going to repeat that accent pattern. So this allows us to only enter 1 accent, and it will be applied to every time that first note of 6 comes around. So this is basically all we need for bar 1. Now a couple of other minor things here. If I bring up the mixer by tapping this button and hit play, you can hear if I mute the pattern, so line 1 will mute the contents of the sequencer, and we're actually hearing 3 quarter notes in 12/8. And what I want to hear is a click on the first of every 6 notes. So I'm going to pull down this quarter note fader here and instead push up the mark fader. And the mark fader allows you to hear a sound at whatever frequency you want. And you set the mark position by tapping on this button. And I'm going to say mark every 6 16th notes. Let's have a listen. So you can hear that marker, which is a triangle sound at the moment, which is being played every 6 16th notes. And I can change the sound of that marker by tapping on set sounds right here. And tap on the marker. And then I can assign a sound to that marker from the sounds on the left. I'm going to use the same sound as is used for the bar sound. So I can tap on this ear button here. That will reveal the sound in the picker on the left. And then if I tap on the marker sound and then tap the arrow on this click here, it assigns it. So now the bar and the marker are playing the same sound. And then finally, I'm going to push up the line 1 volume again. So that's what we're looking for. And for the sake of differentiating the click from the rhythm here, I'm going to choose the sounds to be practice pad sounds. So if I tap on the sequencer title here and choose sound picker, and in sound sets I can tap on pads, and now we will hear this played on a practice pad. So we've created the first bar here, and it's half a bar of 12/8. I want this to play twice, so over in the playlist, here it says 1 rep. I'm going to tap on this gear button and choose 2 reps, and that will play twice before it moves on to the next item in the pattern. Now the easiest way to add further bars is by duplicating this item, this bar 1 item, and there are various ways to do that, but if you want to remain on the sequencer page, so I'm going to maximize this again, you can simply tap on the title of the preset and choose duplicate, give it a new name, so in this case bar 2, and if you save to playlist, it will be added to the playlist that we're in. So you can see bar 1 and bar 2. And now I can go ahead and edit bar 2 to make it look like the notation on the right side of the screen. So I'll edit the pattern, and all we need to do is add a flam to the first note. So I'll tap above the first note, tap the flam button, and we're done. So that's bar 2. And if I hit play, we will go from bar 1 into bar 2. It will play each one twice. Back into bar 1, back into bar 2. So now we'll just continue this process to add the other bars. So tap on bar 2, duplicate, call it bar 3, and save to playlist. There's a bug in this version that isn't updating the title, but I can go ahead and edit this. And for bar 3, we want another flam on the 4th note, just like this. And when you're in a playlist like this, you can use the forward and backward buttons that appear under the tempo to navigate between the items in the playlist. So you can see bar 2 has the flam on the first beat, and bar 3 has it on the first and the 4th beats. So now we will create bar 4 by doing the same process. Tap on the preset name, duplicate, give it a new name, and save to playlist. And then go and edit. And this time we want to add a diddle on the first note. So I'll tap above the first note and enter a diddle like this. And that's bar 4 done. So the same process again, tap, duplicate, call this bar 5, save it to the playlist, edit it. And this time we want a diddle also over this. Same process again, duplicate, bar 6, save it to the playlist. This time we want an extra diddle over the second note, so we will edit the pattern, select above the second note, add another diddle. That's bar 6. Repeat, so duplicate, call it bar 7, save it to the playlist. And this is a slightly different one. We have here just the flam and accent on the first note and the flam and accent on the last note. So actually, this is more similar to bar 2. So it might be quicker for me to duplicate bar 2. So in fact, let's go ahead and do that. I will delete bar 7. So I can long press and delete. And then I will scroll up to bar 2. And I want to duplicate this. So I can go into edit mode by tapping on the pencil. The second button from the left is the duplicate menu, and I can choose to duplicate the item with a new name. So I'll tap on that and call it bar 7. And I want to move this to the end of the playlist. So you can move things in select mode, which is this check mark in a circle. And I can drag this down to the end. And while I'm here, I'm going to duplicate bar 6 and call that bar 8 because bar 6 and bar 8 are very similar. So I'll select it, duplicate the item once, make sure I'm in select mode and drag this to the bottom. And I did it a different way this time. I need to rename this bar 6. So long press and choose rename and call it bar 8. So now I need to go into bar 7 and add that extra accented flam on the 6th note. So we'll tap on the sequencer title, edit the pattern, tap above that last note, make sure that it's the last note that is highlighted white, turn that into an accent and add the flam. So that is our bar 7. And then to navigate to bar 8, tap on this button. And for this one, we just need to add that final flam on the last 6th note. So again, we will edit the pattern, tap above the notes. You can use these arrows to move around. So we just want to put a flam and accent. And that's it. We now have 8 bars in our playlist that will play for 2 reps each. Now we have the flam on the first of each note, then with flam on the first and fourth, diddling the first note, diddling the first and the fourth note, adding an extra diddle on the second, and then switching to accenting the first and sixth, and then our final rudiment at the end, and then it jumps back to the start of the playlist. Now, one final thing, we might want the tempo of this to relate to the dotted quarter note instead of the quarter note. So we can do that by selecting the item, tapping on the tempo, and on the left here we can choose dotted quarter note equals 120. Now note that that's only been applied to bar 1 here. So if I play this, it's faster in bar 1 than bar 2, even though they both say 120. So to do it for all of them, we'll go into select mode. Another way to do that is to tap the ellipsis button and choose select items. Now I can select all of these, tap on the tempo, and just do the same thing. We'll tap on the quarter note and choose the dotted quarter note. So now all of these presets, you can see if you just look very carefully, there's a dot on the quarter note to the left of the tempo marking. But one more thing to note here is if I change the tempo of this by nudging it, it's only changing the tempo of bar 1. Bar 2 is still at 120. So in order to lock the tempo for the entire playlist, you want to tap on the padlock in the tempo control, and now all of these will play back at the same tempo. So I can tap on the tempo, choose 74, and these will all play back at 74 BPM, dotted quarter note equals. So that's how to program rhythmic ideas into PolyNome.